G'day everyone and welcome to The Take here on Old Man Squad. I am your host, Matty G at NBA G Wiz. And listen, this is the show for you. If you're drafting real hard like we are, it's August and we are in the mock lobbies trying to get a good value of ADP data. Someone who does that with me quite a lot is DMac at NBA Fantasy Bible. I have brought him along for the show tonight. And we're not going to talk about sleepers because there's a lot of talk about sleepers. And I can tell you now, the absolute best sleepers in fantasy, they're not slept on anymore. It's early. So if you're starting to hear about names early, they're not sleeping anymore. Sleepers truly are guys under the radar who we can get late. In fact, I like to call a lot of these guys slippers. Who are the guys who are slipping because of the push-up of those early guys and the early hype trains toot, that you can get value come your draft day? They are not sleepers. They might not even be breakouts. They're certainly not bust, but they will jump up their ADP value to give you the best targets to hit for your draft board. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Dan, DMac, NBA Fantasy Bible, International Man of Mystery. How you doing, my man?
Doing well, Matty G. Good to be on Old Man Squad. I can't believe it. I'm an old man. It feels right.
I'm old man. Here we go. There's the happy birthday. Happy birthday. There's a shower of streamers down the wall. The house there's a balloon arch. I'm not kidding you. My wife, there's a balloon arch.
Yeah,
Should I show you the balloon arch? Wait, here we go. Look, I'll see it. Look.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole balloon arch. In the middle of the house for the birthday. We do Christmas hard. We do fantasy hard. Well, I do the fantasy hard thing, and so do you. Slippers. When I mention this to you, you're like, Matty, that's a good point. What do you think? What's your take on the nature of a slipper, not a sleeper?
Yeah, I like the term as well, and it fits in with Old Man Squad. I love to wear my slippers as well. But yeah, you're right. There's rarely ever going to be these sleepers anymore because we talk about it, people hear about it, we tweet about it. There's no such thing as a sleeper unless it's a guy just coming off as a two-way sort of short-term contract.
A decade ago, randomly getting a start for the Miami Heat and going bonkers.
Yeah.
Jeremy Lin. The guys who you don't see coming are the true sleepers, right?
Yeah. And you think a decade ago, we didn't have the plentiful amount of analysts that we do now. And you guys watching are just so informed and educated as well. So there's no real sleeper in my mind as like you were saying, Matty G.
And look, and I want to be really, it sounds like I'm hating on some takes of analysts and stuff. It's not that. It's because we already know that these are guys we want to target. So it's not like this, sleepers is BS and whatever. It's not that kind of thing. But what it is just making us aware that what happens, it's like almost like a math algorithm of beauty, isn't it? Like here's value, like value equals draft position, where you take them in your draft equals the disparity where they come back at the end of the day. That's it.
Essentially guys that are being underdrafted that we think could have solid, if not better seasons.
And there's guys right now who I'm gonna whack just a bunch of names. Everyone's gonna hate that I'm saying it. Andrew Nembhard, not a sleeper. Peyton Pritchard, certainly bloody not a sleeper. These guys who we know already are going to be the starting point guards for their respective teams, no matter what situation they are, people are going to start moving. We're already starting to see a shift in that. In fact, Andrew Nembhard in Yahoo is currently 73. ESPN, which is more points based, is 130. And he has now slipped inside the top 100 on Fantrax to 96.4. He is exactly the 100th overall aggregate player in fantasy. Now, he could eclipse that at the end of the day. Peyton Pritchard, not a sleeper. Now, he might be going right now at 90 in Fantrax, 91 on Yahoo. And I could see him a top 40 player. So he's an awesome pick. That's a breakout more for Pritchard, but it's not a sleeper because come draft day, this is what we're talking about, D-Mac. This value is eclipsed. They'll move up these draft boards. We're talking about Peyton Pritchard now being 90. Where do you think his ADP value settles?
I think it's going to be closer to that 70 mark. And we've done a few mocks where he has gone a little bit earlier and we've gone, look, we think it could be okay, but there's a bit of risk there and you are cutting off all of that value as well. So again, be mindful. It's cutting out the value. Be mindful of the ADP. Don't overdraft a guy because that's the beauty of, or that's how you win.
Yeah.
Incremental value picks as well. It doesn't have to be every single round that you have to hit and get that value. but you want to be able to have that across the entire draft.
And there's other guys right now who I feel are slipping. And to give you an example of this is not just an overall slippers, because we'll do these as we come closer to the season. This is guys right now who are outside the top 100, who we think purely have just come inside in the last couple of days, proving your point with one of these guys. D-Mac is already one of these guys has come in very, very quickly from being outside the top 100 when we first did the call and like the roll call messages to each other. One of those guys has come back in. One of my guys, for example, is Emmanuel Quickley. I like Emmanuel Quickley this year. I think Emmanuel Quickley could potentially have the season that he didn't quite have last year. He was drafted eventually in the 50s last year. I see him being in the 60th best, 70th best player, maybe. Let's say 65. On my big draft board, I actually have him as 67. All right, so he's 67. Right now, his ADP, and we'll share the screen because let's just get some data. Let's look at the hard math. Here he is. This is the ADP thanks to #basketball. And right now, you can see that he is up there right on your screen. And look at that, D-Mac. Emmanuel Quickley, 81 on Yahoo, 99 on ESPN, and 70, about where I have him pigeonholed on Fantrax. Just a little bit over that, 83rd overall player. Now, I have him around ahead of that on value. He's slipped back from where he was last year. This opens a value window on Yahoo. Behind him, though, Peyton Pritchard. Here's the gamble we're going to put right now. Who do you think, here's my question, come draft day, finishes with the higher ADP, Emmanuel Quickley or Peyton Pritchard?
I think it will be Quickley. But there's a lot of steam for Pritchard, and I guess with Nembhard as well. But yeah, I still think it'll be Quickley. And then, okay, back at you. Who do you think will end the season as a higher ranked player?
I think Peyton Pritchard. And so this is the thing about the value. And I don't know that because I don't know what Toronto's doing, but I also don't know. I think just Pritchard, I actually have a sneaking suspicion it could just be Quickley, just nudging. But I reckon Pritchard, if given the full reins and the Anthony Simons thing doesn't happen and he is shipped off, then I'm 100% saying Pritchard. Right now, I think it's a bit of a neck and neck race. And this is where you can see right now, this ADP data hits us right here all the way down. One of your beloved draft picks here was CJ McCollum in Washington. Why were you high on CJ for this year?
I just think there is some value there. You look at that ADP of Fantrax, it's outside the top 100. I think mentorship, he's playing that mentor role at Washington. I think he can find himself closer to that 70 to 80 mark. So again, it's that incremental value increase. It's not going to blow us out of the park. He's not going to be a top 30 guy like we saw for stretches across his career. But top 80, I think, is realistic. I guess the concern is whether or not he plays a huge number of games. I think if he can remain healthy, I think 60-plus games is realistic. Of course, Washington will want to play some of their younger guys, but they need those older heads, himself and Chris Middleton. And if I had to pick of the two, it's CJ McCollum for me.
And these are the old heads doing the things. And he's always been around that. You can see his 42nd rank the year before, 120 last year. Not a great season for him. The free throw percentage took a massive dip last year with an increase in makes as well. We don't know what to expect from Washington, but we do know that they won't be very good. Or expecting that to take place. Maybe the Bub Carrington train rolls on in. So here's a guy right now who we definitely know who can be a fantasy performer. And maybe the truth is he finishes somewhere between. And it's about 80. And at this case, where he's starting to go is fine, especially when, as you can see with this current ranking right now, he is falling at Fantrax, which is kind of in the know. So right here is just on the fringes, his 93rd overall blended average. But this is a guy that we like, a former. And we look through these guys, and this is when you start doing it. You've got to go through the pages on Yahoo. So these are the Yahoo. You go to the fourth page right here, and here's your 100. And Mr. Number 100 is Donovan Clingan. And his current ranking, his preseason ranking was 100. He is currently ranked 189th. Can you believe that, D-Mac? This guy has slipped back in drafts considerably right now.
Yeah, he's the definition of a slipper. Now, I guess the ADP sort of suggests he's better than that, but we think that he's going to end a lot higher than that in the overall rankings as well. They're going to prioritize him. I think he's set for a massive season. Of course, we saw glimpses of him. He did look a little bit slow. I remember a game against the Lakers and he started, but he did look slow. And we're like, man, what's going on with this guy? But I think in a category situation, definitely There's some top 70 upside, maybe even higher there. Be mindful as well for those that you do play points. He's not as effective in points leagues, of course, but those combinations of rebounds and blocks, I think, is invaluable.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the guys that I actually think is in for a better season right now, and it doesn't tell based on where he finished last year in a lot of the rankings, but this is Shaedon Sharpe. He is one of my guys who I feel has absolutely 100% slipped back. Now, for me, I think he has every little bit to be one of the top 3 guys in Portland. For me, he is a top 80 player this season. I've got him ranked at 79, my birth year. Very easy currently right now. I think he gets you points. He gets you some rebounds. He's decent with the assist. His field goal percentage is going to be over 450, so it's a fine punt to have. His free throw percentage could do that. He will get you a steal or something a game, maybe. But he's a top 80 player right now who the ADP data is telling us that Shaedon Sharpe is around. And if we have a look, we've got to scroll down a little bit for Shaedon Sharpe. Here he is, 135th in ESPN in a format, points, that he's quite good at. 95th on Fantrax, 98 on Yahoo, 110 overall. That could be 30 places of value that we are eating come the end of the year this year.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of us have been talking about Scoot Henderson's ascension as well, but I think Shaedon Sharpe, we saw again in glimpses and in patches last season that he was going on scoring tears, absolute scoring tears. And we know that later on in drafts, it can be quite difficult to get those scoring guys. Probably a few more options than what we've seen in seasons gone past, but Shaedon Sharpe definitely packs a punch when it comes to that points.
Does Tobias Harris, how's Harris, one of your guys, why has he creeped up your list as a guy who's just been slept on last year, considering that, by the way, they've already got him ranked at 102 right now on Yahoo, by the way, but 41 the year before that, 80 last year, a bit of a decline last year after the contract, et cetera, et cetera. You see good things for Mr. Harris this year.
Yeah, ADP of, what are we saying? Fantrax is just outside the top 100. I think he beats that and beats it by maybe 2 rounds. I think he's just boring. And we've said this about Tobias Harris as a fantasy game for a long, long time. And because he's seen to be boring, he's not an upside pick. So let's not go and draft him. But for me, he is an upside pick because he can get you that 2 rounds of value. Looking at Tobias Harris, you said just outside the top 100.
There we go. 118 currently ADP on Yahoo, 107 on ESPN, and 110. So if he's getting you 90, that's 2 rounds of value that you're getting after the top 100 to get you a top 100 player.
Yeah. It's just not a sexy pick. And people love sexy picks, but what's sexy to me is winning fantasy. Ooh. And I think you can start off, that's sexy to me. Tell my wife that as well. But getting 2, possibly even 3 rounds of fantasy value is, again, invaluable. And I think Tobias Harris needs to be a target for more people.
And we saw just there a couple of other names that were popping around on the screen. One of those, which was being, I like D'Angelo Russell. He's right around this same value. Is it because we just hate D'Lo? 2 years ago, he was 59th. Last year in a trade season, he was just like a ship in the night going all around. They ranked him at Yahoo at 160th overall. Not a great year for our good friend D'Angelo, but he pretty much is the incumbent starting point guard. And I think we're also forgetting that he's worked with Edey in the Lakers. Like, this is a guy that has worked with his starting center. His Yahoo pick right now is 106. He's 111th on ESPN and 115. He goes back the radar. Why is D'Angelo Russell slipping in our drafts to us?
I think it's the Kyrie Irving effect. I think people are thinking that Kyrie Irving's going to come back earlier than what he probably will. I don't think he is. He will play some games, but we can't sleep or slip on D'Angelo Russell. He's going to be the starting point guard. Like you said, he's got some synergy already with some of the team. I think he's a solid guy to have. And I can see him easily eclipsing his current ADP, perhaps in the top 90. Top 100, I think, is very fair, particularly before Kyrie Irving suits up again.
Look, if he's playing 28 to 30 minutes a night, even though we know there's a bit of youth going on with Dallas around in the fringes there, we saw a little bit of that unleashed towards the end of last season, then we're okay. Like, maybe, to move off him very, very quickly. But if you think about really who's going to be the starting point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, it's going to be him. Like, Max Christie is going to get some minutes. Dante Exum's around. Brandon Williams we liked last year, but he's still the backup point guard. Is Jaden Hardy going to take a step? He's a shooting guard. Like, so it's Williams or Exum. And I don't think either of those two guys are going to get the minutes. I think D'Lo is going to have a little bit of heavy lifting to do, and we've seen him eclipse this value. So I'm just kind of keeping my eye on what happens with him and if he continues to drop outside the 110 mark, and you need a point guard late in a draft, you are not going to get many more. I think he could score about 15 points a night. Let's say 6 assists a game. His field goal percentage always sucks, but if he can hit a couple threes and chip in a couple of rebounds here and there, he's going to give you value that you're not going to get really from a starting point guard in that place in your draft, D-Mac.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's a safe pick at his current ADP with some upside there. I think you can return that 1 to 2 round value later on.
This is one of your guys, Aaron Naismith, right here. You love the potential gold mine that is the Indiana Pacers. Tell us a little bit about your Pacers love for this year, mate.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to Tyrese Halliburton. He's not going to be there for the entire season. It's looking like he's going to be out for up to 18 months, so a little bit longer. So we'll see what happens there. But for this coming season, I don't know if they're going to be in the playoff hunt. But again, they're in the weaker East, so they could be 8th or 9th spot. So they could still be vying for playoffs. And I think that's important when you consider guys like Aaron Naismith, guys like Jay Huff, Obi Toppin later on in the draft, my guy Isaiah Jackson. And of course,
Obi Toppin, you said you just took Obi Toppin in the draft we just did late in the very last pick. You're like, I'm going to roll the dice on him.
And who did you take last pick? TJ McConnell as well.
TJ McConnell.
Yeah, TJ McConnell. And you mentioned Andrew Nembhard. He's going to have a great season. He's in my dynasty team. I had him a couple of seasons ago, and I love his outlook this season. But he's not a sleeper. But I feel like Naismith, he can get some value there. So I think his ADP is around that 140 mark on Fantrax. I think he gets that back in spades. I think top 100 is in reach. Again, not a super sexy pick. He's not going to be a top 50 guy. But again, you get that close to top 100 guy. I think that's valuable in your team.
And you can see as well from his previous outings, he's actually finished in their rankings at 112th and 118th the last 2 seasons. And he was returning. He's been in and out some games. Yeah. This is a guy who, when he plays, he can contribute across the board. And that's not bad. And when where you're getting him currently, that's pretty good. And in fact, in many cases, we're seeing Benedict Mathurin taken above Aaron Naismith. And I think Naismith could be a top 100 player. Call him 98, call him 96, just inside there. Benedict Mathurin I have as a maybe outside the top 115, 120, maybe after then. So people taking Mathurin before Naismith doesn't make sense to me. And so I think it's really good value right here.
I sort of get it. I think Mathurin being sort of the high draft pick on years gone past, a little bit more exciting. But from a fantasy perspective, particularly in category leagues, Naismith is my guy. But I can see the appeal with Benedict Mathurin. And you look at the betting odds in real life NBA, I think he's probably top 5 favorite to be most improved, along with Andrew Nembhard.
Now, this next one is a really deep cut. You think this man is absolutely eating it up. He's eating it up currently over in EuroLeague. I see you smiling right now. Talk us through this bloke, right?
Give me name is Keita. He's playing for Portugal. He looked amazing in his first game for Portugal at Eurobasket. Again, we don't know if he's going to start ahead of Luka Garza, but by all accounts, he may start, which is enough for me to grab him with my last pick of a draft. There is some upside there. It's big man stats. You're looking for blocks. You're looking for rebounds. Namus Keita, it's also got a 3-point shot on him now. He's shown that at Eurobasket. Maybe he hasn't shown it at NBA level, but hopefully that translates across into this season. Boston Celtics, though, that's the concern. Are they going to be just leaning in towards more of that youth movement? And I'm not saying that Keita is old, but maybe they're looking at something different because they've had Keita on the roster before. Luka Garza is new. They may look at some other options. Could play some small ball 5 as well. So again, last pick, upside pick.
Here he is. And here he is. I've had to scroll down all the way while you're talking to do this because another guy who's an upside pick potentially with in and out of lineups, you could say is Adem Bona. But he's going undrafted on Giannis.
Do I say it?
You say it.
Boner alert.
Do it.
Boner alert.
Boner alert. Boner alert. Him and Queta. It's like Quatus for you. Queta. Yahoo, they're going undrafted. This is, you've literally got to scroll down because that drops their ADP blended to 207 and 208 respectively. Fantrax, if I don't know who's drafting into the 274th position, by the way, that's a real, when I start seeing people drafting 200, I mean, how deep is your league? How deep is your love? Are you 20 and 20? Even then, like 20 people deep. Like, what is your roster doing? It's insane. 139
I think
here.
that's paying homage to Fantrax, just deeper leagues, sometimes dynasty as well. So be mindful of that as well.
And 139 on ESPN, undrafted on Yahoo. He could be he's a player that I actually have on my board inside my top. You know, you do 12 by 12, 144. So my math is very simple on this one. 12 teams, 12 people on a roster. Generally speaking, if it's a 12, something is a 13, it bumps up to 156, but 100, the top 150. I see him as a top 150 player. And so here he's making it inside that at 139 on ESPN. He is not even being drafted to be considered, let's give him the 384th rank on Yahoo. Like, it just doesn't exist.
Which, to be honest, that makes him a real sleeper as opposed to a slipper. But it's just someone that you can take in the 12th or the 13th round if it goes that far in your draft.
And this is why this guy is slipped back. He's slipped back because it's Boston. He's slipped back because of the Gaza equation. Like, who starts here? What's going on? Chris Boucher. Do they roll out Boucher? Like, you know, we've seen him have value in Toronto and space.
Xavier Tillman is also there in that front court.
Is Xavier Tillman anywhere? Really? Is he? I've just got to ask.
Yeah.
Just got to ask. Hey, look, I rolled past this guy because we were talking about big men. And it's a guy who I've just taken in a draft. You know that I am high on him this season. You are high on him. We share our affinity for one Mr. Zach Edey. Now, he is injured to begin this season here. I have Zach Edey has slipped down by virtue of injury. He has slipped down by virtue of like a new direction and a focus maybe on Jaren Jackson Jr. in Memphis. I don't know why, because Zach Edey is really the only center they've got apart from Jock Landau. Now,
we love Jock as an Aussie, but he's not playing ahead of Zach Edey and he's not playing ahead of JJJ, obviously.
And Zach Edey is a guy I legitimately think is a top 70 talent in fantasy this year. And we've got to scroll all the way back up to where, you know, people are drafted in the board. And you've got to go right in here to this section around here. And Zach Edey has dropped down in our drafts. In fact, other people like Kyrie Irving, who are out for longer, are being taken above him. And here is Zach Edey on Yahoo at 120, 139 basically on ESPN, and 122 on Fantrax. Now, at best, let's say he's the 60th best player. That's doubling. That's doubling your return. That's a league winner, D-Mac. Like, that's a league winner.
Yeah, definitely a league shaper at the very least. You get four rounds of value with your, what we'll say, 9th or 10th pick. Yep. Absolutely game-changing. I think, that's a home run for me. If you have to put him into your IR for a couple of weeks, do so and know that you'll reap the benefits later on.
How do you play your IR spots? Like with your own draft day, like thinking of that right now, you're like, okay, have to survive a couple of weeks with Zach Edey. That's fine. It's a 20-week season. How do you approach that come draft day, and where do you juice that value a little bit?
Yeah, look, it really depends on your league settings, because if you're in Fantrax, you may want to just go shove someone in IR and then pick someone up directly off of waivers. You may not be able to do that in Fantrax. You may have to throw some fab at that. Yahoo and ESPN, you can just go and pick them up, which is pretty good. There is a priority, obviously, but yeah, it does depend on your settings. Depends on how, I guess, risky you want to go. We saw in a mock draft, DeJounte Murray went in the 9th round, knowing that they'll put them into IR and playing it nicely that way. But do you want to spend a 9th round pick? I guess the risk is lower there. But if you want to go any earlier, they're the type of decisions that you need to make. But for Edey, I think that he'll come back probably in the first month of the season. I don't know how long he is out for at this stage, but still very valuable. If he's going at, what did we say, 122 on Fantrax, that's great value.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a guy as well there's quality big men that late in the draft is not something that happens very easily. And we should, by virtue, be looking to get the best quality players available. And one of the best quality players, well, he was, and then he wasn't. And then a whole bunch of wacky stuff has happened for him. And he's found his home right now over in Miami. And I think there is some value in Miami this year, especially by way of Andrew Wiggins. Kel'el Ware, someone as we call a sleeper, but he's not a sleeper when he starts to get drafted now. And I project him around in the 80 to 100 zone. Like that's where Kel'el's going to be. I have him at Expo. I call it Expo in Queensland. You go up in Queensland and Brisbane, it was Expo 88. Kel'el Ware is 88 for me right now on the year. And you can see that when it's slipping down, his value kind of goes because he is now being drafted. Look at this, just inside the top 100. In fact, he's being drafted at 90th, pretty much Expo 88 in Yahoo. ESPN, 139 and 95 on Fantrax. There's not a lot of value to get from Kel'el where I see him at the end of the day. But then we go down and Andrew Wiggins, 101, 122 in a points league base focus in ESPN. Think that's juicy. Fantrax, 110. This is a guy, man, that I can see eclipsing this value. Not eclipsing, but I can definitely see him having a solid season. And he started to show it last year in Miami after he was traded from the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, definitely. And as we know, it is difficult sometimes to get those point-scoring guys that'll give you a bit of a boost later in the draft. And Andrew Wiggins is one of those guys. So I think, yeah, at that ADP, solid guy with potential to be a top 100 dude. And again, later on in that draft, just be prepared that maybe things don't work out and you can move on. We are always prepared to do that.
Now, we can see, guys, that we mentioned here, Matas Buzelis already. He has gone to 103rd, 112th. We mentioned him. We know that he is not a slipper because he's not going to slip down come your draft day. But there's another guy who's just, if we scroll back up, who's slipped down from where he used to exist. In this zone here, around the 80s and the 87s. He was, you don't know this one's coming, by the way, former player of a team that has a new coach. He had a new team last year and underwhelmed. By the end of last season, he had an incredible finish, and he finished with inside the top 100 easily in the last 3 months of the season. Who would I be thinking of? New coach has taken the team that he used to play for, not him currently.
Oh.
So he used to be on a team. He was traded last season. He played for that new team last season. His old team traded him. It was a bit of a saucy topic, one would say. It's on the East Coast.
On the East? Oh,
on the East Coast. Donte DiVincenzo.
Donte, your boy.
Donte DiVincenzo, my old boy. My boy. Donte DiVincenzo, I actually have as the 84th ranked player for this coming season. I have him down solidly at 84. I think I might have just moved him in there. I'm redoing my board because it's about to be the beginning of the new month tomorrow. So I'm in there and look, he has slipped down. Jaden McDaniel's going off the board. I've got to scroll down. And Donte DiVincenzo is 126 at Yahoo, 124 on ESPN, 126 at Fantrax. That's 3 rounds of value that I am deliciously eating up at this point in my draft. Like almost 4 rounds of value. Like that's a big change right there to get him in your lineup after Andrew Wiggins. Donte DiVincenzo. That's huge.
I like it. And are they going to prioritize him over Mike Conley? He could start at point guard.
Do you think?
Oh, perhaps. And that's what's going to get you that value as well.
He's really came on towards the end of last season. Like he really pushed up. He played a heck of a lot better. Everything just kind of switched with him at one point, and he didn't play very well. He finished inside the top 80 over the last 3 months of the season, but over the course of the full season, it wasn't as big of a return. I think having a year under his belt, him and Julius Randle getting coalescing together in the team, funnily enough, 2 former New York Knicks. I think there's room here because he finished outside the top 100 overall for the season. I think he was about 115th, 120th overall in that kind of zone. I think he's better this year again. And maybe he doesn't get back to the 60th best player that he was from the year before that in New York. But I see him being in the late 80s, early 90s.
And I don't think
this
they're going
is
to
just value.
prioritize Rob Dillingham as well because they are contending. They've got to make the most of Ant, Rudy Gobert,
Yeah.
Mike Conley for whatever he's got left in his career. So I think they're going to push hard on Dante DiVincenzo and unfortunately for Rob Dillingham. And I like Rob Dillingham. I think he's got some nice potential. I don't think they're going to play him over Dante DiVincenzo.
I agree with you there. And one of the guys right here that we can see on here is Toumani Camara is my other one. This is my last one for you, D-Mac. And why I want to say this is I think this is the guy who we haven't spoken enough about yet that's going to be one of the ones that comes on the Kurt Allens. We're focusing on the Buzelises and the Pritchards and the Nemhards and these other guys, and maybe Shaedon Sharpe, who we've mentioned, maybe Donovan Clingan, as we've mentioned. But I just think there's a treasure trove in Portland this year. And I think one of the other guys here, it's got to be. And if you look at the draft data right now for him, Camara is outside the top 100, and I'm loving it. He's 109 currently on Yahoo, 130th on ESPN, and Fantrax, I think, is starting to get it right. And there's movement at the station, for the word has got around that Toumani Camara is about to get away. Overall, 114th. This is a guy right here that finished last year as the 95th best player. And I see him getting better again this year, D-Mac.
Yeah, he's still a young guy, and we saw that stretch last season. He was just an absolute tear, particularly with steals, and that's why you've got ESPN ADP data a little bit higher in the 130s. Not as valuable in a points league situation, but for all of us category league players, we know how valuable that was. And for those that were lucky enough to pick him up off the waiver wire, yeah, you had a really nice stretch with Toumani Camara in your lineup. So yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's like, he was the Dyson Daniels light of last year for me. You know what I mean? Like, this guy who's getting the steals and he can put in some threes and do some work. Look, I expect good things from him. And I think we have a top 75 player potential on our hands. Maybe at best he's a top 75 guy. Am I insane? Or at best he's a top 75 bloke, right?
Yeah. I think that's possible. I think with him and Drew Holiday, I think it can actually work with two defensive-minded guys on the court at the same time as well.
And Drew Holiday has slipped around this season. He's 120th in Yahoo, 120 on ESPN, and 130 on Fantrax. So Drew Holiday is definitely someone who's slipped, and we've loved him in Boston. We loved him the year before. He's a guy who's been drafted. But with the focus on the youth, the old man squad of Drew Holiday is being 100% overlooked in Portland as well. I think it's just a fantasy gold mine in many ways this year.
Absolutely is. I still think he plays close to 30 minutes a game. Yes, I think they will lean towards the youth, but similar to what I was saying with CJ McCollum, they need that older head on the team as well, just to guide the rebuild, so to speak. But they've got some exciting youth on the team, so he'll still be an integral part of that if he stays on the team longer term.
And as you can see here, I just clicked on him then. This has got his projections for this season for these guys from #basketball. They like him. They actually have him as 86th overall. And you can see his deficiencies in field goal percentage and free throw percentage. His rebounds, his steals are elite. But this is someone late who these guys are projecting quite high at 86. So let's just say they're doing 86, right? You know, I've got him in the zone. Portland, better this year. Overall, I think we'll run the show. We've got Scoot Henderson, as you said, on the team as well. 110 Yahoo, 130 ESPN, 100 on Fantrax. Now, if he's going to be that, he's going to get you 1.5 rounds of value minimum. DMAC, it's 1.5 round value minimum. At best, if he jumps into top 75 from around that 100 marker, there is 3 rounds of value with someone with that, you know, categorical scarcity of steals late on the regular.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's a gold mine. So again, that's a home run. And like I was saying before, it's about those incremental, Babe Ruth. It's the incremental value increase as well, every round. Even if it's 1 round of value, that's going a long way towards you winning your chip.
And then occasionally you can just strike gold and get these guys like Camara, 2 or 3, like Edey, 4 or 5 if it's that late, at best. And again, some of these guys, because you take them late, like your caters, because let's call him the caterer, because of the caterer who's not even being drafted, if he doesn't start and he sucks and he's not great, well, guess what? You throw him, you see you later. You toss him, because you're not investing anything. And if you're putting that much stock and trade in those last guys, you're kind of overthinking your draft, because you've got to make sure that you always have draft spots to stream. And you're basically drafting Like in a 13 team or 12 team, you're drafting 10 players and you're using 2 spots, generally speaking, to stream. So you can't be too attached and you've got to drop the worst ones off. And most likely they're going to be some of these guys, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Compare your team at the end of the season to what you drafted on draft day. Those last 3 guys are typically not going to be there. So just be mindful of that. However, there is, I guess, a prime example of not being too hasty about getting rid of these guys. One, Jalen Johnson, a couple of seasons ago, happened to some people that I know, and they, to this day, still remember it.
Oh, Jenny, don't be hasty. Don't you go treating me. No, look, man, I was high on Jalen Williams, and I did not let him go, face mask and all. I was like, I was going to ride him all season. I never threw him back on in every league. And then he came good, and he was an absolute stud. So he is still one of those league winners for me, who I love. Hopefully one of these guys will be a league winner for you. We are Old Man Squad. This is The Take, the show that gives you the takes and the breaks to help win your fantasy league. Make sure you like and subscribe to all things Old Man Squad. D-Mac, where can we find you?
You can find me on X or Twitter at NBA Fantasy Bible. You can find me on YouTube as well, also NBA Fantasy Bible.
Guys, like, subscribe, take care, be well. Old man up here. We will catch you in the next one.